Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. I'm Anime Octopus, and today we're exploring a fascinating what-if scenario. What if Naruko Uzumaki was chosen by the night? Quick disclaimer before we dive in, the content on this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos, full credit goes to the original creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's get started. Naruko gazed down from the cliffside at what had once been a bustling village, now a desolate expanse marked by remnants of past conflicts. She frowned at the sight, feeling an odd heaviness in her chest. So this is the world my To-san came from? It's difficult to imagine that my father originated from such a harsh place. Even without using Senjutsu, I can sense this land is unlike any of the elemental nations. What could have happened here? Naruko wondered, her eyes tracing the large craters and scattered fragments of energy left behind by those who had battled here. Indeed, this world seems far more chaotic than the elemental nations from what we are perceiving. How do you plan to explore it safely, Naruko? Matatabi asked, observing the wasteland through the eyes of their host. Her siblings' expressions mirrored concern. For now, there isn't much I can do without proper information, Naruko thought, spreading her senses to detect any nearby settlements. To-san and the old sage advised me to focus on understanding my Shinso vampire side and train with my new abilities. I also need to understand this world better. She moved away from the cliff, her mind calm yet alert. Though she wished she could have helped the village, she knew it had long been lost to the past. It's still remarkable that you're not entirely human, Shukaku observed, with the other Baiju nodding in agreement. Discovering Naruko's unique heritage had been surprising, even for her, but she had embraced her new abilities without hesitation. Kit, since we need to understand the full extent of your Dhampir abilities, let's locate a nearby town and consult the scroll your father gave you. We also need to learn about this world's environment, Kurama said, his tone authoritative yet supportive. Having been with Naruko the longest, his guidance carried extra weight. To-san said I'd be unlike other Dhampirs, and she was right. I truly am in a class of my own, Naruko thought as she descended the cliff. Her father, a figure of great power among vampires, had gifted her abilities beyond those of ordinary Dhampirs. Among these was immunity to certain mystical elements and access to the powers of the 9 Baiju, fragments of the primordial god Shinju. According to her father, primordial gods were stronger than the deities of myths and legends. Naruko now wore practical attire for exploration. She had chosen black cargo onbu pants, leather combat boots, and a protective mush armor beneath a white short-sleeved shirt, layered with her red sage coat patterned with black flames. Around her neck hung Tsunade's necklace, a cherished memento from years past. Her appearance had transformed. Her hair had grown longer, silky and flowing to her lower back, with 2 elegant bangs framing her face. In normal conditions, her hair shone golden like sunlight, but activating her vampire abilities caused it to shift to a shimmering silver while her eyes glowed deep red with black slits. Normally, her eyes were a vivid amethyst, pupilless, reflecting the same depth as Ka-chan's. Her features had matured, slim, defined, and athletic, built for speed, endurance, and agility. Subtle fangs hinted at her unique heritage. Her belongings were minimal: kunai, ninja wire, shuriken, smoke bombs, food pills, and training scrolls sealed on her left forearm. Other items were secured for future use once she found shelter. Perhaps a cave would suffice, Naruko thought, sensing no immediate threats nearby. Or maybe I could build a small home using the Makuten that Hashirama Jiji entrusted me with. The legendary sage had even contributed to her abilities through medical and mystical means, enhancing her powers for responsible use. Naruko's genetic gifts were extraordinary, including traits inherited from her father that made her unique even among other powerful beings. Kit, it's important to be cautious, Kurama advised. The chakra in this world is unpredictable. You may have strengths unlike any vampire, but you also need to understand the limits and effects of your Dhampir abilities. We've never encountered vampires in the elemental nations. Your father's scroll should help you navigate this world. Naruko nodded thoughtfully. I understand, Kurama. Thank you. You all should rest while I scout ahead. We still need to recover from the war. The 9 entities acknowledged her with gentle nods before their connection paused. All right, let's see what I can find, Naruko murmured, slipping silently into the trees to travel more swiftly, her senses alert to the life around her and the mysteries that awaited. After a 3-hour journey, Naruko sighed, glancing around at the scenery. Just more forests and mountains, she muttered, slightly frustrated by the slow progress, though she couldn't deny the beauty of the landscape. It had been roughly 3 hours since Naruko arrived in this new world. So far, she had encountered only forest animals that scattered at her approach. Her father had told her this world was home to both humans and supernatural beings, and while she had yet to meet any of them, she was eager to discover what lay ahead. The mountains before her were a welcome change from the endless woods. There's just forests and streams as far as I can see, Naruko thought. Maybe with the Byakugan I could see farther, but I haven't figured out how to activate my dojutsu fully. Perhaps it's a matter of focus or a mental command. Either way, the mountaintop seems like a perfect place to train for several days and learn the basics of my abilities. It was a practical plan. From the height of the mountain, she had a clear view of her surroundings, an advantage she didn't have in the dense forest. Using Doton Chakra, she could shape the stone to construct a temporary home on the mountainside. The area also had plenty of wildlife to sustain her for some time, and the rocky terrain provided a sturdy shelter against the elements. Naruko knelt and pressed her palm to the ground, channeling her chakra into the stone. She manipulated the rock, making some sections denser and others thinner, forming the framework for a small home. While Mukutan techniques required significantly more energy and skill, Doton allowed her to control earth and stone effectively. Within minutes, she had crafted a cave-like dwelling with a door frame, a small bedroom, a fire pit, and furniture sculpted from the rock itself. Cleverly, a hidden bedroom was tucked to one side, its entrance camouflaged against the walls, giving the illusion of a single-room home. As she rested, Naruko examined the tattoo on her arm, a tribal design etched permanently into her skin. 9 circles contained kanji representing leaf, cloud, mist, sand, rock, sage, weapons, vampire, and father. Trusting her father's advice, she focused on the circle labeled father, and a crimson scroll emerged from a seal on her left forearm. It bore the crest of her father's lineage, the Darkul family. Opening the scroll, Naruko began to read. Dear Sochi, I know this new world may feel overwhelming, but there are reasons I guided you here. You are extraordinary, far more than you realize. Your heritage makes you unique, both your Shinso lineage and Uzumaki blood, along with your connection to the Baijuu, grant you incredible resilience and abilities. You possess heightened senses, agility, speed, strength, and endurance. These traits will grow as you age. Centuries from now, you will be more powerful than most beings in this world. Over time, abilities like psionic manipulation, regeneration, and other extraordinary powers will emerge. You also have the ability to influence others through eye contact alone, a talent that may be useful when gathering information discreetly. Your longevity will allow you to experience the world in ways few others can, and your uniqueness as a Dhampir will make you a beacon for friendship and allies. I am proud of you and trust in your wisdom to use these gifts responsibly. Remember, your journey is about understanding, growth, and creating connections in this world. Naruko held the scroll close, absorbing her father's words. Though she had much to learn, the guidance and reassurance in his message strengthened her resolve. With renewed determination, she looked out over the mountains, ready to explore, learn, and master her extraordinary abilities in this new world. You are the perfect Dhampir, Naruko. At this point, your strength rivals that of a fully developed Shinso vampire, yet you remain without known limits or weaknesses. Over time, you may also discover new abilities, much like I once did with a skill called Royal Command, which allowed me to guide other vampires in harmony if ever needed. You may occasionally need to draw on the essence of life to sustain your extraordinary strength, as you did with Kaguya, but with the Baijuu residing within you, your own vitality regenerates naturally. Feeding may not be necessary unless you choose to do so. This will prove beneficial in the long term. Other supernatural beings will be able to sense your unique nature. Because you are my only child, they will recognize the power I once held and the aura that comes with it. Please, Naruko, exercise caution when entering your vampire state. Any of my old rivals who cross your path might test you, not because of you, but because of the legacy I left behind. I cannot express how precious you are to me. You are all I have left, my only child, and therefore more important than words can convey. I know you are strong, but promise me you will remain careful. I hope you surpass me in every way, Naruko. I have no doubt that you will. Within the scrolls I have preserved is all the Ninshu knowledge I have gathered from villages and clans, entrusted to you for growth and guidance. These scrolls encompass a variety of shinobi techniques, including contributions from multiple clans and friends. Use their strengths to strengthen yourself. I also included basic vampire techniques you can master, as well as some rare methods known only to me. Each scroll is carefully organized by subject. I want to extend gratitude to all the Cage for contributing to your training plan. We work together for you. Use this knowledge wisely, Naruko. Grow strong. Seek out those you hold dear and protect them. Along the way, I hope you build a loving family and bring lasting peace to the world, just as you have for the elemental nations. I believe I speak for every shinobi you have journeyed with, and even those yet to come. We all believe in you. Never back down. Never give up. That is your shinobi way. With love. Your To-san. Naruko's eyes widened as she read the note. She was astonished by the revelation of her own enduring strength and the generosity of the clans who had entrusted their techniques to her. Thanks to her father, she would grow into a formidable vampire. It was overwhelming, yet she understood that this journey was unstoppable. A smile slowly formed on her face, and a single tear of gratitude slipped down her cheek. Her father and friends believed in her beyond measure, and she could feel it in every word he had written. Thank you all for believing in me. To-san, I promise to surpass you, Naruko thought, sealing the scroll with care. Curious, she infused chakra into the kanji markings on the scroll, and a gray scroll gently emerged. As she unrolled it, her eyes sparkled with surprise. The scroll contained 4 notable items. 1. Sasuke's Chokudo sword, her friend's distinctive sword, with a black scabbard and hilt. It lacked the legendary abilities of Orochimaru's Kusanagi but was exceptionally durable and could cut through various materials. By infusing it with wind or lightning chakra, its effectiveness could be enhanced. 2. Asuma's chakra blades, highly specialized trench knives worn like brass knuckles, with zigzag edges and a sharpened blade extending from one end. Naruko could incorporate these into her taijutsu to blend offense with defense. 3. Gaara's sand gourd, the calabash-shaped gourd that contained chakra-infused sand. With practice, she could manipulate the sand, blending her chakra with Gaara's techniques, creating versatile offensive and defensive options. 4. Fuma's shuriken, a large, collapsible 4-bladed shuriken gifted by Sasuke during an early mission. Its design allowed for both portability and precision. A sword, Fuma's shuriken, chakra blades, and a sand gourd. These items fit my style, though I'll need to refine my kenjutsu and sand techniques. Time and practice will help me master them, Naruko thought, sealing the scroll once more. She yawned, glancing toward the sunset outside her makeshift home. I should rest. The war has taken its toll, and if what Hashirama Jiji said is correct, I need a few days to fully recover, she reflected. You seem to be progressing well, Naruko, a calm, kind voice said. Gah, Naruko exclaimed, startled. She stumbled and bumped her head as she turned to see the visitor. It was Hagoromo, the old sage. Old man, please. Some of us still have hearts that beat, Naruko said playfully, mock glaring at the sage. Hagoromo chuckled lightly at his pupil's enthusiasm. Naruko always brought a spark of joy to him. Even without her special heritage, she remained kind and caring toward those she cherished. And for anyone who opposed her, they would soon realize she was unmatched in skill and strategy. Much of her talent came from her mother, Kushina, though one might say it was wise to always approach her mother with care. Even Naruko's father knew better than to underestimate his wife. Sorry, Naruko, I couldn't help myself. It's nice to see you again, the sage said with a gentle smile. Naruko returned the smile, a warmth spreading from her heart at the kindness of the old sage. So, what are you up to this time, old man? I know you didn't come here without a reason, Naruko said, settling back onto the stone chair, her eyes studying the sage carefully. Hagoromo smiled softly before replying, I am here to guide you in the ways of Ninshu, Naruko, and to help refine all of your current abilities. While you are already strong, there is always room for growth. Your father also asked me to help you better understand your dojutsu. Naruko's excitement bubbled up into a delighted whoop. Calm down, Naruko, I'm not finished yet, the sage said calmly, though a playful twinkle lingered in his eyes. Naruko sat back, her eagerness still shining brightly. Over the next few years, I will share everything I know, including techniques passed down to me by others. I will teach you how to harness your dojutsu, elemental abilities, swordsmanship, and senjutsu, along with several other skills that go beyond your unique heritage, Hagoromo explained, his posture serene, his presence radiating wisdom and power. I suppose you don't know much about what I can do as a Dhampir, Naruko said, a hint of humility in her voice. She knew the sage had some awareness from her father's teachings but could not instruct her in the secret arts of her lineage. Only her father's guidance, or the guidance of a willing master, could do that. Sadly, I cannot teach you your father's techniques. That is a journey you must undertake on your own, through practice and experience, Hagoromo said honestly. He wished he could spend more time with Naruko and the Baijuo, his children, but he had limited energy to give in this moment. Every bit of his strength had to be carefully preserved so that Naruko could gain the most from their time together. "Don't worry about it, old man. You're doing more than enough by training me," Naruko said with an honest smile. Though a mischievous gleam sparkled in the sage's eyes, Naruko sensed the challenges ahead would test her in ways she had never imagined. "Shall we begin?" Hagoromo asked, his calm demeanor hiding the intensity of the lessons to come. Naruko nodded with determination, knowing this training would shape her into someone far stronger than she had been before. Time skip, several decades later. "I miss Hagoromo Gigi," Naruko thought as she watched the sunset from an inn she had rented for the night. She had been traveling with a group of skilled hunters, journeying to assist those in need and protect the wild from chaotic forces. Though the group occasionally tested her patience, she valued their camaraderie and the experiences they shared. "We miss him too, Kit," Kurama replied, as the other siblings rested, leaving only him and Son Goku awake. "So, what's next for you, Naruko? It's been 44 years since your training concluded," Son Goku asked, curiosity in his voice. Indeed, time had been peculiar for Naruko. She had not aged since her 18th birthday, now many decades passed, yet her youthful appearance remained unchanged. She had spent those years alongside the Baijuo, her friends and family, serving as a mediator when tensions arose and receiving their care and affection in return. The first 10 years of her extended life had been devoted to intensive training under Hagoromo, learning the ways of ninjutsu and advancing to match his remarkable skill. Naruko had mastered ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, kenjutsu, medical ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, bojutsu, and dojutsu, achieving full control over her chakra and learning to move undetected by others. Through dedication, she became a Dhampir sage on par with Rikudo Sennin. Her arsenal included chakra blades, kusanagi, a gourd of sand, fuma shuriken, and other tools collected on her travels, all safely stored within her tribal seal tattoo. Her mastery allowed her to summon 13 or more tools at once if needed. Her remaining years were spent refining her Dhampir abilities. One unique skill, known as Shadow Whip, allowed her to create a flexible whip from her own energy, capable of taking on many forms, from daggers to spears, enhancing her agility and adaptability. This technique was a gift from her father, teaching her resourcefulness and creativity in all situations. With careful practice, Naruko had become an extraordinary guardian, combining her sage knowledge, Dhampir abilities, and strategic mind into a force few could rival, yet she remained humble, curious, and ever willing to grow. There are several advanced techniques that Naruko can learn, passed down from her father. One of them is demonic wings, which manifest as crimson and black angelic wings made from her own chakra. To use this technique effectively, Naruko must tap into her special inner form for better control. Another ability is red mist, allowing her to transform into a black and red mist to travel quickly, pass through obstacles, appear near others instantly, and create expansive bursts of smoke. However, Naruko must master each technique gradually, one at a time. So far, she has successfully mastered summoning the Shadow Whip and several basic applications of her other techniques. She still has a long journey ahead before fully mastering her abilities. We move forward and learn. I wish to have a family and bring peace. Those are my 2 dreams. But first, we need a map of this world, or at least the region we are in, to plan our next steps, Naruko thought, a gentle smile forming on her face. Although she has traveled extensively, Naruko has earned a reputation as a problem solver, visiting towns to help people in need peacefully. She has a few acquaintances who understand her uniquely, including bar and inn owners who often welcome her after completing a task. Several monarchs across different kingdoms have also taken an interest in her, though her presence is always treated with respect and admiration. Among supernatural beings, she has gained something akin to devoted admirers, though she maintains her focus on helping others rather than seeking attention. Her recent assignments have drawn some curiosity from supernatural entities, though Naruko remains mindful and composed, never allowing herself to be disturbed by their presence. "So, where shall we go now?" Son asked, noticing that others were doing as they pleased within Naruko's mindscape. "I suggest we train," Kurama replied. Son Goku gave her a questioning look. "I don't think Naruko needs additional training," Son observed. "She has mastered all elemental releases, plus her dojutsu, kenjutsu, fuinjutsu, taijutsu, and several other skills, putting her nearly on par with her father. Is more training really necessary?" Son acknowledged Naruko's formidable abilities, knowing she could hold her own even against legendary figures, though experience could still make a difference. "That's not what I meant," Kurama replied in a matter-of-fact tone. Son's expression twitched slightly at the comment. What do you mean, Kurama? Naruko wondered, raising an eyebrow as she focused on distant sounds outside her room. She mentally noted 4 heartbeats, but their aura was foreign to her. They were only visible for a moment before continuing down the hallway. I mean, we should train in magic, Kurama explained. More specifically, we need to learn how to counter various spells and magical techniques. You'll also need this knowledge to wield your father's special sword, which relies on a particular branch of magic. Could Naruko's ninchu arts not handle that? Sun asked. Naruko considered the point. Ninchu and magic are fundamentally different. One relies on hand signs, while the other requires chance or other mediums. In a direct comparison, Naruko's ninchu would generally prevail, unless she faced an exceptionally powerful magic user. Even then, her training ensures she can respond effectively. Naruko's foundation, built under the guidance of a legendary sage, allows her to hold her own in almost any scenario. Only beings of exceptional skill present true challenges, and even then, the primary forms of engagement are strategic techniques in hand-to-hand combat. Reflecting on Kaguya, Naruko did not harbor animosity but disagreed with her approach to peace. She understood why Hagoromo had chosen to contain Kaguya instead of confronting her directly. Naruko respected that decision. Kaguya was still her mother, and love guided her reasoning. She believed that resolving conflicts with compassion rather than aggression was the true path to lasting harmony. Naruko has never sought power for its own sake. Her goal is not dominance or authority, but to safeguard those she cares for. Strength is a means to protect, not a tool to control others. Perhaps, Kurama responded, but we cannot underestimate magic. Creating a new spell is often simpler than mastering a jutsu, and understanding magic's limits requires learning directly from those who wield it. Some magical effects can only be countered by specific approaches, just as certain sealed techniques require unique keys to unlock. Naruko nodded in agreement, recognizing the wisdom in Kurama's words. Just as certain poisons need specific antidotes, certain mystical forces require precise countermeasures. Her home, for instance, is protected by barriers that only allow entry to those deemed trustworthy. Any intrusion triggers sensations meant to discourage unwanted guests. Where can we find a place that studies magic? Naruko wondered. The church may not welcome my Dhampir heritage, rogue groups might not be reliable teachers, and witches, well, they aren't always easy to find. Yet, witches are often the most neutral and knowledgeable guides we could encounter. Sun reflected on this as well. Finding someone with high-level mana could provide the insights we need. Even though this world has recently experienced great upheaval, accurate knowledge is scarce, and much is based on hearsay. All right, Naruko said thoughtfully. Next, we need to gather information about my father's sword and its magical properties. The Void Sword was a legendary weapon whose primary ability was to restore the energy of its wielder while simultaneously allowing her to defend against opponents. The sword held immense mastery over the elements of ice and wind, enabling Naruko to perform long-range attacks once sufficiently trained. Its last known location was within the walls of Comwood Castle, owned by Alice, the Queen of Madness. Known to many as Alice Wade, sister of Alma Wade, she was regarded as one of the most formidable women in the world. With her telekinetic abilities and sharp intellect, crossing her was never advisable. Her sister Alma was even more extraordinary, possessing near godlike powers and a vast array of telekinetic abilities, as Chome recounted in a gentle, feminine voice, recalling the note that Minato had left for Naruko about his legendary sword, a note that inspired both awe and respect. Kurama and Sun waved to the Seven-Tails Beetle, who responded politely with a nod. Great, the last thing I need is someone from my father's past discovering I'm his only child, Naruko reflected. From the letters her father had left, it was clear he had been widely respected, even feared, by supernatural beings. Rumors hinted at his involvement with extraordinary powers, which made Naruko wonder what would happen if the truth about her heritage came to light. How many challenges did your father face? Sun asked, genuinely curious. Too many to count. He encountered beings with immense power, yet he handled every situation with incredible skill and grace. He treated those he cared for with utmost care and protected them as if they were angels, Kurama explained, remembering the letters and scrolls Naruko had shared. Each message contained guidance on techniques as well as personal words from friends, allies, or those he had assisted during his adventures. The villages had pledged to maintain peace in Naruko's world until the time came for her to return and serve as elemental Kage, an agreement upheld by all daimyo and Kage, both past and present. Naruko was entrusted with preserving harmony across the 5 villages, a responsibility she would hold until a worthy successor emerged, a task potentially spanning many years, particularly given her ageless nature. All right, let's retrieve my father's sword, Naruko said, her voice carrying a hint of fatigue. She hoped the upcoming castle would be more peaceful than the last one she visited. She also wished to avoid any distractions, particularly from those who might be charmed by her presence. Several centuries later. Do you think we should continue our journey? An elder Dhampir asked her Baijuwu companion. Naruko had been trained over centuries in diverse skills, from alchemy to magic and multiple sword styles. Even after 300 years, she continued to refine her abilities to remain sharp. During her training at the Wolf Academy, Naruko learned the basics of magic known as signs, simplified yet versatile forms of spellcraft. These included Ard, Igni, Yurden, Quen, and Axii. Ard, a telekinetic wave capable of pushing back or momentarily stunning opponents. It could also clear obstacles or deflect projectiles. Unlike more advanced techniques, Naruko could use Ard repeatedly without delay. Igni, a fire-based spell effective for both utility and combat. When mastered, it could ignite large areas or safely interact with flammable substances for strategic purposes. Yurden, a magical trap placed on the ground to hinder opponents. Advanced usage allowed multiple traps to work together, forming a protective barrier. Quen, a magical shield that could protect Naruko or her allies, absorbing energy from attacks and, at higher mastery, reflecting some of it back to the attacker. Axii, a charm that could temporarily persuade opponents to cooperate, enabling strategic advantages in challenging situations. These skills complemented Naruko's shinobi training, allowing her to seamlessly integrate magic and combat techniques. The signs could be cast effortlessly, even one-handed, which proved invaluable during battle. Moving forward sounds best. Where to next? Isabu asked in a calm, considerate tone. North. We're in Italy, and I want to see if the rumors about the underworld's unrest are true. If I can intervene, perhaps I'll understand the situation better than relying on second-hand reports, Naruko replied, temporarily storing the void sword until needed again. How will you reach the underworld, Naruko? Matatabi asked, reclining with the others. From what I've heard, there's a natural portal north of here, though it's likely guarded by powerful protectors. I just hope I end up in the right realm this time. I don't want to arrive somewhere unexpected, Naruko responded, recalling the guardians of the underworld gates and the challenges they presented. Over the centuries, the supernatural world had gradually faded into myth for ordinary humans, though those aware of its truths continued to navigate it carefully. Naruko, with her skill, wisdom, and the void sword, remained prepared to uphold balance in this ever-changing world. Naruko had changed remarkably over the centuries. At 385 years old, she still retained the appearance of an 18-year-old, but with the wisdom, strength, and composure that only centuries of experience could bring. She had grown far wiser, more intelligent, and far more serene than in her youth. Her knowledge spanned everything from strategy and diplomacy to combat and leadership. She had lived many lives, sage, witcher, teacher, knight, farmer, and innkeeper, and each had taught her both the beauty and the challenges of the world. Strangely, Naruko cherished every experience. The happiest moments filled her with joy and laughter, while the most difficult ones kept her grounded, reminding her of her own humanity. Each year brought something new, and she embraced every opportunity to grow and learn. She loved the Baijuwu like family, and their affection for her was genuine. It brought her comfort and happiness to have them by her side on this long journey. All right, but can we have a little fun? Shukaku grumbled playfully. Though calmer than in the past, he still enjoyed a challenge. Naruko hadn't had an engaging sparring match in centuries, and he was eager for some excitement. Calm down, Aniki. I'm sure we'll find worthy opponents soon, given the unrest in the underworld, Naruko said with a gentle laugh at Shukaku's insistence. Yes. Kurama and Shukaku cheered, while the other Baijuwu simply smiled or chuckled at the lively scene. Be careful, Naruko, Seiken said, her tone warm with concern. Naruko smiled, appreciating the care in Seiken's words. Over the centuries, bonds had deepened between her and Matatabi, Seiken, Chome, and Kokuo. Though they were beings of chakra, they could take human form when near Naruko. And though the idea of a close, familial relationship with them was deeply meaningful, she knew that creating stable forms for each of them would require time, patience, and great care. She was mindful of the rules and limits that guided her connections, ensuring respect, love, and consideration for each Baijuwu. The male Baijuwu, protective of their sisters, encouraged Naruko while offering guidance to ensure she treated them with the utmost care. Understood, Seiken-chan, Naruko said softly, her voice full of affection, as she set off toward the north. 1 year before canon events. It has been a long journey, but nature's energy is finally balanced, and the negative forces within her have lessened, Naruko thought, smiling as she meditated beneath a tree. The warmth of Shinjutsu energy flowed through her, allowing her to harmonize with the natural world. After nearly 5 centuries of work, she had helped ease the strain on nature, making it safe for sages to enter sage mode without danger. Having assisted her friend Surzek in resolving conflicts, Naruko withdrew from the public eye, stepping forward only when the world needed her, whether among angels, devils, fallen beings, or mystical entities from Greek, Norse, and Shinto traditions. Now over a millennium old, Naruko had become a living legend, honored with many titles: the Last Witcher, the Immortal Nomadic Sage, Daywalker, the Strongest Dhampir, Elemental Master, and more. Yet, through all the accolades, she remained true to herself. She protected her loved ones with unwavering dedication, forgave those who erred, and continued to teach the principles of Ninshu, spreading understanding, compassion, and peace without expecting anything in return. Her efforts had also aided nature, calming the energy and reducing the harmful effects of Shinjutsu misuse. She discovered that improper use of nature's energy led to discord and confusion among its practitioners. By restoring balance, she made it easier for future generations to harness the power of Shinjutsu responsibly. Time flowed differently between worlds. A year in the elemental nations felt like mere months to her, while centuries passed for Naruko. Messages from Tsunade reminded her of this difference, and though it puzzled her, she accepted it as part of the journey. It has been a long time, Naruko mused, a gentle smile on her face. She missed her friends but cherished the opportunity to bring harmony to the world. With patience and persistence, she hoped to see a time when all could coexist peacefully. Suddenly, her violet eyes flickered open, sensing a familiar presence nearby. She turned to a tree and saw someone she recognized. "Why are you here?" Naruko wondered quietly. While she was in the underworld, Naruko observed how many devils let their ambition cloud their judgment in attempting to gain her power, though she had made it nearly impossible. Few devils could incorporate her into their peerage because she was far too formidable. Many even tried to send influential female figures, whether peerage members or relatives, to sway her, but none succeeded. The devils were not the only ones intrigued by Naruko. Angels, fallen angels, gods, and other factions also attempted various strategies to earn her favor. Among the angels, a few female angels had grown fond of Naruko, admiring her courage and character. The fallen angels tried to appeal to her through charm and presence, yet the 4 close companions she traveled with consistently offered their support and counsel, ensuring no misguided advances succeeded. The gods and goddesses, including prominent figures such as Hera, Rhea, Hestia, Artemis, Beldne, Urd, Skuld, and Nyx, also took notice of her. Despite these efforts, Naruko's keen empathic abilities allowed her to discern intentions clearly, granting her the wisdom to choose allies she could trust. Many were surprised to learn that Naruko had already surpassed a millennium in age while maintaining the same youthful appearance. Her strength was extraordinary, if not surpassing that of the 4 Mao and several archangels combined. However, she rarely needed to go beyond her Baijuu cloaks or the Sage of 6 Paths mode to handle even the most powerful beings. "Uro Tenshi, what brings you here?" Naruko asked, noticing a figure emerging from the trees, scratching his head in a sheepish manner. "My name is Azazel," Naruko, the leader of the fallen angels, replied, with a slight edge of annoyance. Ever since their meeting in the underworld after the civil unrest among the devils, Azazel had kept a watchful eye on Naruko. Azazel was a complex individual, laid back yet serious, wise yet unpredictable. He had a deep fascination with collecting and studying sacred gears and was dedicated to avoiding conflict, preferring dialogue to confrontation. His concern for his fellow fallen angels, Shemazai, and Barakiel, was evident, and his natural charisma inspired loyalty among his followers. Though many of his friends had settled down with families, Azazel supported them wholeheartedly, celebrating their happiness. "I understand, but to me, you will always be my Uro Tenshi," Naruko said, smiling with a playful glint, causing Azazel to twitch in mild irritation. "Why, you little," he began, only to be interrupted by Naruko's grin. "What brings you to visit me on Earth?" "I thought you'd be training that young girl with the sacred gear we rescued," Naruko remarked, referring to Vilena Lucifer, whom they had both saved from danger. Azazel had joined the mission to gather insight into Naruko's abilities, curious if she posed a threat to the fallen angels. Fortunately, Naruko remained neutral to all factions. Even in her human form, Naruko was extraordinarily powerful, high-class among devils. In her enhanced states, she could rival beings considered ultimate in strength. Azazel knew little about her but was aware of her mastery of Shinjutsu, her status as the last Witcher, and her command over diverse magical abilities. Naruko remained an enigma even to the knowledgeable fallen angel. Ah, Vilan? She is currently under my group's protection, learning to harness her magical reserves. Her full name is Vilena Lucifer, Azazel explained, sitting beside the sage. Naruko raised an eyebrow, curious. A Lucifer, huh? I wonder what her story is before we found her, Naruko mused. She had encountered a few members of the Lucifer family before, most of whom were in hiding. Respecting their privacy was part of her responsibility as a sage. One of the few survivors after the reduction of the devil clans. Thanks to the peerage system, their numbers are gradually increasing, Azazel noted, studying Naruko carefully. It was evident that her power exceeded what many factions could handle, a fact that brought disappointment to some devils but relief to certain angels. As the fifth Mao, Naruko's strength was acknowledged even by Surzek, who admitted she surpassed him. The peerage system, huh? How are the four doing since my absence? Naruko inquired, curious about her close allies. Azazel sighed, massaging his head. It's challenging, my friend. Factions across devils, angels, and even the yokai are quietly searching for you, each with their own motivations. I am doing my best to keep you hidden. I'm unsure if Surzek knows you're in Kuo yet, but it won't be long before he does. Your ability to remain unseen by the Greek and Norse gods makes you an exceptional target for certain groups. Why do the devils seek me? Naruko asked. They recognize your influence as the fifth Mao. Beyond that, you possess unique traits that could enhance the strength of several remaining clans. The Elder Council hopes to integrate your power into their families, Gremory, Citri, and Phoenix among them, Azazel explained. Additionally, a peerage awaits you at the castle where Ajika resides. Naruko considered this quietly, inwardly pleased at the thought of reconnecting with friends from the underworld. And the angels? She asked, curious about their intentions. The church wanted to understand why you were immune to holy items and even capable of using them. Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel are deeply concerned with your well-being. You certainly left an impression on Uriel and Gabriel when you met those two young women. From what I hear, they still admire you greatly. Several high-ranking angels, including other seraphs, wish to express their gratitude for what you have done for them, Azazel said with a casual shrug. Though he had fallen long ago, he still cared deeply for beings like Michael and Gabriel, whom he considered family. The yokai? Naruko asked. The yokai in Kotyo, led by Yasaka, are also fond of you. She even went as far as preparing a ritual to honor your bond, though several other yokai who do not follow her leadership disagree, Azazel explained. Naruko smiled and felt a slight blush at the thought of Yasaka. She had always been, and perhaps still was, one of the most remarkable individuals Naruko had ever met. They had shared a meaningful relationship for some time, though Naruko had ended it when old enemies resurfaced. Fortunately, the relationship remained private, and no one knew about it. Naruko did miss her, but she prioritized Yasaka's safety over her own desires. She hoped that one day she could see her again and, when that day came, she would take her hand. Naruko's other companions approved of this. Kurama, as always, was a strong supporter of Naruko's unique bond with the Kyuubi. What about, Naruko began, but Azazel interrupted. Naruko, there is something important you should know, Azazel said seriously. Normally, he rarely showed such gravity unless it was critical. Some members of the council had planned to challenge you, Azazel continued, pausing to let Naruko absorb the information. After a lengthy discussion, Surzek declared that you are now the fifth Mao of the underworld, and your clan, the Uzumaki, now holds a position of influence there. This action was taken to protect you from the council, as Surzek knew he could not fully prevent their interference otherwise. However, this also recognizes that you are the last remaining member of your clan. The council had proposed a ceremonial arrangement to revive your lineage, but, thanks to Surzek's declaration, you are free from any obligations or arrangements imposed by others. As a Mao, your authority protects you from being compelled to accept anything against your will. Azazel paused, letting the significance of this settle with Naruko. Naruko sighed and shook her head. The council really does complicate everything, she thought. Though the situation required careful handling, at least she would have the freedom to choose her companions and not be dictated by others. I suppose I should be grateful to Surzek, Sarafal, and Ajika for intervening, Naruko commented. The four of them were close friends, and it now seemed the group was referred to as the Five Great Satans. They ensured that you will have the option to select 4 to 8 companions, Azazel added, though he couldn't help feeling a touch of envy. From his perspective, Naruko was living a remarkable life. Not only was it rare for a being like her to have such choices, but she would also have the freedom to form bonds with 4 to 8 individuals she personally valued. Well, 4 of those positions are already decided, Naruko thought with a quiet smile. The Baijuo, who had remained silent throughout the discussion, responded with pleased expressions. Matatabi, Kokuo, Seiken, and Chome all seemed happy and slightly bashful. Kurama and the others exchanged knowing smiles, confident that Naruko would never harm their sisters. But isn't it unusual for a Mao to have multiple companions? Naruko asked thoughtfully, reflecting on the laws of each faction. The council is overlooking that particular issue in favor of preserving your lineage for the greater good, Azazel replied. Ajika, Sarafal, and Surzek were not entirely pleased with the circumstances, but they trust you will understand once they explain. Fortunately, you never hold grudges, he added, quietly hoping that Naruko would not be upset. Among the 5 Satans, Azazel considered Naruko the most formidable. She had lived for centuries, relying on her intellect and strategy more than raw power. Few truly understood the extent of her abilities, as she often concealed her full strength, relying on clever tactics instead. Naruko sighed. I suppose I will accept this, though resisting would certainly cause more complications, she said, to which Azazel smiled. You may choose companions from among devils, fallen angels, or vampires, Azazel stated simply, as if discussing the weather. Naruko raised an eyebrow, momentarily stunned. Are you certain? She asked, incredulous at the ease with which he spoke. Absolutely. Follow the guidance, and you will find happiness, Azazel said calmly. Who else knows that I am the 5th Mao? Naruko asked, considering the responsibilities that would accompany this title. She didn't mind being the 5th Mao but knew this would require her presence in the underworld more often. Only the high-ranking members, such as the dukes and other prominent devils, Azazel replied. It has not been made public, so there's no need for concern until you are ready to lead alongside Surzek and the others. That is reassuring, Naruko murmured, reflecting on the fact that the devil faction, one of 3 powerful groups, did not fear her father, unlike the others. This implied that the angels, including Michael, Gabriel, and Uriel, were aware of her father's influence but not the full details of her lineage. Additionally, in a year or so, I will be sending Violena to train under you, Azazel added, hopeful that Naruko would accept the opportunity. Since Azazel had revealed her whereabouts, Violena had been eager to meet Naruko, hoping the legendary Witcher could guide her in swordsmanship and other skills. Naruko was admired by young supernatural beings everywhere. Tales of her adventures were well known, though not every story was entirely factual, some were crafted from her imagination, and some recounted her real deeds. Even those who admired her, from young witches to aspiring heroes, knew her name and stories. Though Azazel teased that he idolized Naruko through the tales she inspired, Naruko simply smiled, amused at the notion. Is there anything else I should be aware of, Azazel? Naruko asked. Not at the moment. Even though you helped me set up this spy network, our contacts haven't reported anything unusual lately. When I do hear something, I'll send our usual message. What are your plans in the meantime? Azazel asked, curious about what Naruko would do. I'll blend in and work as a teacher at the high school nearby. It's going to become a co-ed school soon, and from what I've learned, little Rias will attend along with Akeno and Sona. It'll be nice to see them again, Naruko said, recalling the 3 young girls who used to call or chase her down whenever they wanted to learn something new. The last time Naruko visited the underworld, it was to prevent trouble among the Nico, and after winning the debate, she had disappeared for a while, leaving everyone who knew her on edge. Yet, Naruko had always been the voice of reason among her friends. They weren't bad leaders, they just made unwise decisions sometimes. Naruko's guidance had often kept chaos from spreading further. Well, that should keep you busy for a while. I should go before the others try to track me down. Take care, Naru, Azazel said as he rose and walked away. Naruko noticed a brief green glow before it disappeared. Things are becoming more interesting now, Matatabi purred. Indeed. Let's hope Azazel's plan works, Naruko thought, rising and heading toward her cabin. Fortunately, Naruko had a stable life outside the supernatural world. She was a renowned singer under the name 10 Tails and a prolific writer inspired by her godfather's works. Money was never a concern. Present, canon period. Naruko sighed as she reviewed the papers on her desk, the early morning sun casting a soft glow across the room. She enjoyed the quiet mornings, savoring the calm as she worked, accompanied by tea and a few donuts that made the routine even more pleasant. It had been over a millennium since Naruko first arrived in this world, and about a year in the elemental nations. She often imagined how Tsunade and the others would react if they knew her true age, especially since she had surpassed even Hagoromo in skill over the past century. Naruko felt proud but remained humble, content to focus on her personal growth and training. Whenever needed, she could use Kamui to practice in her own dimension. Though revered both in this world and her original one, Naruko remained grounded. She had matured greatly over the centuries but continued to enjoy helping others. Few could match her abilities now, as she had grown stronger with each passing century. Her reputation was legendary. Stories of her deeds had echoed across 8 centuries, known to seraphs, Ma'o, gods, and mortals alike. Few had actually seen her, but her name was recognized worldwide. Naruko was also celebrated as a skilled teacher and medical professional. During her academic journey, she earned 27 associate degrees, 19 bachelor's degrees, 13 master's degrees, and 9 doctorates. She owned multiple hospitals, schools, businesses, restaurants, clinics, colleges, and banks, making her one of the wealthiest individuals in the world. Unlike her supernatural achievements, these successes were the result of hard work and dedication. Much of her wealth went toward helping those in need. Her most popular books were a tribute to her godfather. Naruko balanced a busy normal life with her supernatural responsibilities. While she remained neutral in conflicts between various factions, including devils and fallen angels, she kept watch through the highly efficient spy network she shared with Azazel. Life was complicated. She was a teacher, businesswoman, writer, chef, doctor, principal, landowner, and more, but she excelled at every role. Sitting back in her chair, Naruko took a deep breath. Today, she wore black dress slacks, a white short-sleeve button-up shirt with a black vest over it, a deep red tie, and black shoes, a simple yet professional outfit suited for her role. Her golden hair, silky and sun-kissed, fell to her shoulder blades with a half-up ponytail, framing her face with 2 soft bangs reminiscent of her father, Minato. Her trademark whisker marks were visible on her pale sun-kissed skin. Around her neck hung a wolf amulet from the Witcher school and a necklace gifted by Tsunade. Though Naruko had adapted to the formal dress codes of various cultures, she still preferred comfort and disliked suits. Her current role was teaching a home cooking class at the high school, where she could guide students of all ages in preparing healthy meals, a job that allowed her to share her knowledge while staying grounded in a familiar, peaceful environment. Naruko glanced around the empty classroom, noting the neatly arranged baskets of ingredients for the day's activity, a simple yet delightful soup recipe she had picked up during her travels in China long ago. She felt a twinge of nervousness. It was the start of a new term, and even though she was on friendly terms with Lord Gremory and his family, she knew he held a grudge from a long-ago prank she had played with Surzek, turning their hair a bright pink. In her defense, the laughter it caused had been worth it, though she had spent a good 4 hours dodging playful magical retaliations before they finally wore themselves out. Naruko blinked when a subtle sensation at the edge of her awareness drew her attention to the door. After a moment, she returned to her book, Myth and Supernatural. Unlike her other texts, which contained centuries of accumulated knowledge, this book explored her impending transformation into a transcendent vampire, an evolution she had begun to feel unfolding within her. According to the Baiju, she had about 6 months unless she deliberately accessed her vampire state, which would accelerate the process. A transcendent vampire. Let's see what Apollo has discovered for me, Naruko murmured, reading the notes left by the Greek god. In traditional folklore, vampires are often depicted as mystical beings with vulnerabilities to sunlight, certain foods, or enchanted items. Transcendent vampires, however, were an exception. They retained the appearance of their previous lives, radiated an enchanting aura, and inspired fascination and loyalty in others, not out of fear, but through an almost divine presence. Despite their seemingly ominous reputation, transcendent vampires were not inherently malevolent. Their immense power made them nearly untouchable, immune to ordinary weaknesses, and capable of remarkable feats, yet they often restrained themselves out of personal principles. While ordinary discomforts of day and night still influenced them, they were otherwise supremely resilient. The powers of a transcendent vampire were extensive. They could manipulate energy, influence emotions, wield supernatural abilities, and exist beyond ordinary limitations of speed, strength, and endurance. Some abilities even extended to advanced magic, illusions, and control over mystical forces. Naruko reflected that while some of these powers were dark in nature, they were part of her unique heritage, blending her Shinso and Uzumaki lineage. She smiled at the thought. Her father had called her the heir of the Uzumaki clan and the princess of vampires. His pride always made her feel special. Just then, her phone rang. Naruko raised an eyebrow and answered while still flipping through her book. "Hello?" she said calmly. "Naruko," came a voice on the other line, urgent yet familiar. It was a woman. "That is I. May I ask who this is?" Naruko replied, her eyes still scanning her text. "This is Isis, the Egyptian goddess. I have finally found you," came the measured, respectful reply. Naruko paused, surprised. It had been a long time since she had communicated with any of the Egyptian deities. Ever since Ra had returned to power 2 centuries ago, she had kept her distance. "Isis-chan, it's been a long time. How is Egypt?" Naruko asked, leaning back in her chair. "Peaceful," Isis said. "Ra restored balance and freed me from my prior constraints a couple of years ago. I have heard much about you, Lord Naruko." "Lord?" Naruko asked with a raised eyebrow. "Yes. A council was convened among the Greek, Norse, Shinto, Egyptian, and other pantheons 10 years ago. Your name came up, and it was decided that you would ascend to a divine status," Isis explained. Naruko blinked, astonished by the revelation. While she had gained renown for her deeds, this was unexpected, though perhaps not surprising, given the extraordinary path she was following toward becoming a transcendent vampire. The conversation ended abruptly, leaving Naruko thoughtful. She rubbed her forehead, contemplating the delicate balance of powers and alliances she had cultivated. She maintained good relations with several deities and mystical beings, including Izanami, Poseidon, Hades, Beldandi, and the Norns, who occasionally enlisted her help in tasks only someone of her unique skill set could accomplish. Soon, the school bell rang, signaling the start of classes. Naruko set aside her thoughts as students began entering the room. She noticed the amazed expressions on many of the girls' faces, clearly impressed by their striking new teacher. Among them, 3 familiar students gaped in astonishment, unable to hide their surprise. Sona is a young woman in her late teens with a slim figure, black hair cut in a neat bob, and striking violet eyes. She wears the Kuo Academy girls' uniform exceptionally well, which consists of a white, long-sleeved button-down shirt with subtle vertical stripes, a black ribbon on the collar, a black shoulder cape with a matching button-down corset, and a magenta skirt accented with white trim. Though modest, the uniform complements her natural beauty, making her appear elegant and refined. Naruko fondly remembers when Sona was just a little girl, eagerly trying to learn the hand signs that Naruko used. Her determination and innocence were endearing, and it was also around that time that Sona and Sarafal first became friendly rivals. As Naruko scanned the room, her gaze fell on Rias. Rias is a beautiful young woman with fair skin, a curvaceous figure, and captivating blue-green eyes. Her long crimson hair cascades gracefully down to her thighs, with a small strand playfully sticking out at the top. Soft bangs frame her face, adding to her charm. She also wears the Kuo Academy uniform, complete with the white button-down shirt, black ribbon, black shoulder cape, corset, and magenta skirt, paired with brown shoes and white crew-length socks. Over the years, Rias has grown into a striking young woman reminiscent of her mother. Though she sometimes feels shy when teased about childhood promises, she still works hard to prove herself capable and determined. Akeno, around the same age as Rias, has long black hair tied in a high ponytail that reaches down past her legs, accented with an orange ribbon. Her violet eyes shine with warmth and intelligence. Like most girls at Kuo Academy, she wears the standard uniform with black knee-high socks, which Naruko often complimented for how it highlighted her elegance and grace rather than anything else. Naruko always admired Akeno's quiet beauty, believing that kindness and support could help her flourish even more. All 3 young women had matured into confident, graceful individuals since Naruko last saw them. A gentle smile crossed Naruko's face as students gradually filtered into the classroom. She remembered how small and cheerful they had been, and the sense of familial fondness stirred within her. Though they had once made playful promises to marry her, she now regarded those memories with a mix of nostalgia and amusement. "Please, everyone, take your seats so we can begin class," Naruko said kindly, prompting a flurry of activity as the students obeyed. She smiled gently, and a few students blushed, while others exchanged curious glances. "I am Naruko Uzumaki, but you may call me Naruko or Uzumaki-sensei. Welcome to home cooking class. I hope we can all enjoy learning together," she continued, her voice firm yet soft. "In front of you is a basket of ingredients for today's soup. Once you're ready, please put on your aprons, and we'll begin." The students nodded respectfully and followed her instructions. Lunch break. As Naruko enjoyed her bento, she reflected on her friends back in the elemental nations. She had recently returned Sasuke's sword after accidentally damaging it, though it had served her well. She also had several treasured weapons and artifacts, such as the Void Sword, Eclipse, and Narzel, each with its own storied past. The Void Sword was a family heirloom, while Eclipse had been gifted by the Greeks, imbued with celestial craftsmanship. Narzel, on the other hand, was a gift from a high elf Naruko had helped nearly a millennium ago. Although she had spent years traveling and learning, she still cared deeply for those she had met along the way, even if she couldn't always stay in one place. She knew that Rias, Akeno, and Sona would want to hear all about her adventures, and she looked forward to sharing stories with them. After nearly 5 hours of her first day at the academy, Naruko felt a quiet satisfaction. She anticipated the curiosity and lively questions from her 3 old friends, eager to reconnect and learn how much everyone had grown over the years. Naruko's profile. Name, Naruko Uzumaki Darkall. Age, 1017, appears 18 to 20. Race, Shinso Dhampir. Ranks, Ma'o, Master Witcher, Sage, Kage, and Sannin. Threat level, SSS, highly skilled, avoid confrontation if possible. Skills, Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, Genjutsu, Shinjutsu, Bojutsu, Kenjutsu, Bukietsu, Fuinjutsu, Iryo Ninjutsu, Dojutsu, Kinjutsu, Hand Seals, Magic, Runes, and Alchemy. Weapons, Void Sword, Narzel, Steel Blade, Eclipse, Silver Sword, Sand Gourd, Chakra Blades, and Fuma Shuriken. Kekkei Genkai, Rinnegan, Rin Sharingan, EMS, Byakugan, Mukuten, Hyotan, Futten, Yotan, Rantan, Jinten, Bakuten, Sheikuten, Jitten, Shoten, Kotan, Jinten, Swift Release, and Sunatan. Elemental releases, Fire, Water, Wind, Earth, Lightning, Yin, Yang, Yin-Yang. Special traits, Sensory Awareness, Emotion Detection, Energy Absorption, Time-Space Manipulation, Unknown, and Unknown. Clan, Uzumaki. Affiliations, Witcher School of the Wolf, 5th Great Satan, Unknown, Unknown, Unknown. Titles, Last Witcher, Strongest Dhampir, the 5th Ma'o Uzumaki, Elemental Master, Immortal Sage, Rikudo Sennin. Relationships. Siblings, Shukaku, Isabu, Son Goku, Gyuki, Kurama. Companions/allies, Matatabi, Kokuo, Seiken, Chome, Poseidon, Hades, Hephaestus, Erebus, Apollo, Surzek Lucifer, Azazel, Michael, Gabriel, Yasaka, Uriel, and many others. Bonded with, Matatabi, Kokuo, Seiken, and Chome. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It truly helps me continue creating content that I hope inspires, entertains, and connects us all. Your support means more than words can express, and every view, comment, and interaction is a part of building this amazing community together. Thank you for being here, for watching, and for being a part of this journey. I look forward to bringing you more exciting content, stories, and ideas in the future. Stay curious, stay creative, and keep exploring. Warm regards. Anime Octopus.